Last week I did a sermon on change and how change is actually so unavoidable and everything changes at such a rapid pace. I said like my youngest daughter is in grade 1 and she's got robotics or coding as a subject in school. I mean, who could have guessed that? I need to Google coding and robotics and she's got it as a subject in grade 1. I mean, that's the pace at what things are going and things are changing. And in this way, we are constantly, we have to find ourselves and who we are. And then I said that change happens so fast and so rapidly. And then we have to, sort of place ourselves. Where do we find ourselves and who are we? Now, part of this finding who you are and where you belong and how you fit in is the idea of reconstruction. Because you constantly need to reinvent yourself and readapt yourself and to say who I truly am. Now maybe to find who I truly am, where I belong, is to say what I am not and who I am not. So maybe to find the true meat is to cut off the fat, is af te sny dit wat jy nie is nie. So I want to start with the idea of choose your weapon. Choose your weapon. If I ask you this morning, your pain and suffering in your life. And I promise you, all of you will raise your hands and you will come and tell me a story that would be so tragic and painful. And I promise you, if I give you the mic this morning, and I can give it to anyone in this room, and I promise you, you will stand here and tell me a story about pain and suffering you've experienced in your life. We've all had that story. And I'm not saying your story is not, it doesn't have legitimacy. Ek sê, ons almal het 'n storie. But because we all have a story, and we all have a story of pain, we can choose to do something with the story. And what do we do with the story? What do we do with our story of pain? What do we do with our story of loss, of tragedy, of hateful or hateness? Or what do you do with that? What do you do with the inequality en die dinge wat ons aangaan? And I can give you the mic and let you stand here this morning and you can tell me about everything that is wrong and everything that is bad and everything that is painful and everything that is sore. And then if you told me the entire story, if you told me everything, you can make it a weapon. And you can say, I've got this pain, so now I've got this weapon. And I want to start with the story of changing your weapon. I don't know if you know this guy. Do you know this guy? Wackett Simpson. The reason many marriages, the wife looks at the husband and just shakes her head. If you listen to his jokes and his prank calls and have you listened to Wackett? He's got the funniest pranks and things he does. And if you listen to him in the mornings, he's on KFM. If you listen to him, you really think, wow, this guy is really happy. And you listen to him and you're like, this guy's so positive about the country. He's so positive about everything. And I wondered in his story, I've listened to his story and I thought, what? Did he ever experience any pain? Because he's making all these jokes and he makes everybody laugh and he's happy and he's got good, nice values. He loves his wife dearly. He's such a family guy. Did anything go wrong in his life?
And then my brother was murdered. All right.
What,
Yeah.
dude?
Yeah.
Your brother was murdered.
Yeah. He was murdered, and he was a manager of a butchery.
Yeah.
In central Durban,
Yeah.
and they got held up.
Ach, no.
And it was the second time they got held up. I've never actually told the story publicly. So yeah.
You don't have to.
No, I'm fine, man.
Yeah.
So he was held up. Now my brother, he was like 6'2". We all did like kiddie karate. We all got our black belts growing up, and then he took it further and he did ninjutsu. After that, he did kickboxing. He did wrestling. He did
combat
everything.
sports stuff.
He was a proper weapon, this guy, right?
Yeah.
And then, so he got held up the first time, and they cleared the safe out of the butchery, but he was a changed guy after that.
Mm.
And I know that he was like, I can't take this stuff lying down, you know?
Mm.
6 weeks later, they held him up again. And then same modus operandi, gun to the head, on the floor, give us everything. They took everything, and then they were leaving. And he got up and he was like, I'm not taking this. And the last guy, he got hold of the last guy exiting the door. And he started laying into this guy. And one of the guys saw, they came back and they're just execution style. Gone.
Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah, it was, you know. And then
How old is he at this time?
He was 22.
Child.
Yeah.
And you are?
I was 20.
That changes
20,
you.
21, yeah. And then at that point, I was like very disillusioned and I wanted out. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You know? And then everybody was ducking to England, you know.
Yeah.
You could get that 2-year holiday visa.
Kan op die tap.
Done, yeah. So,
That's just part of the story. You can watch the rest of the. It's on YouTube, Darren's story. You can just switch on the lights also. Thanks, Jason. Thanks. So that's the guy who makes us laugh every day. He's got the story. So he went to England, and then he said it's not working, and he came back. Now, if you listen to him in the radio, he's got all the reason to maybe hate a lot of things and a lot of people, and maybe not love this country. There's a second guy, Vusi Tembogwayo. His net worth is 11 billion. He's a South African. Now, if you've read about this guy, he owns multiple companies. He's a global speaker. He's a national. He was so naughty in grade 9 that one teacher said, if you keep on talking this way and continuing this way, I'm going to enter you for public speaking. And he says, I think his mother is Kosa. He says, you know, when it's either that or detention, you take public speaking, because if you tell your mother you're going for detention, you're going to get more detention on her side. So he entered public speaking, and by the age of 17, he was an international public speaker. What you don't know about Vusi Tembogwayo is that his father was a black belt jiu-jitsu fighter, or I'm not sure exactly how the rankings work, but he was a extremely good a jiu-jitsu fighter and could do combat. And his father was sort of aggressive, and his father used to say, I'll break your jaw in 3 places. Now that's kind of specific. I mean, if a guy says he's going to hit you, that's okay. But if a guy says, I'm going to break your jaw in 3 places, he should quite know where he's going to hit you to break your jaw in 3 places. So what happens is his father got robbed also. And then exactly he tried to break his jaw in 3 places. And his father got murdered as well. And then he could make a choice to say, I'm 14 years old. He was a 14-year-old boy, and he said, I don't have a father. And so he was quite naughty at school, and he was supposed to go to Sydney High School. And one of the principals said, I'll help you get into high school. And he sent an email to the high school. And he said, if you don't make room for this child in this school, I promise you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And they made a place for him in high school. And the point I want to make is that these are just 2 stories, and we can add our story to this, of something that happened to us in this country and something that happened to us that we can weaponize and say, well, this happened, so I am now a victim, and I will now retaliate, and I will now attack. That's not the message of the Bible. The message of the Bible is not to say that who hurt you and how you're going to hurt them back. Who killed you and who you're going to kill. And so in this one interview, Vusi says a very interesting thing. They ask him, what do you want to say to this country? And he says, well, if I have one message for this country, I want to say this. We should stop having this idea that other people should suffer so that other people can prosper. Why can't everyone prosper? Why do we have to have the idea that some people need to fail in life so that others can succeed? Why can't we make room for everyone to succeed? It was such a powerful moment for me to listen to that and to say, yes. Why do we need to say that some people need to suffer so that I can prosper? And a good example, and I love this, to always use this, is the Springboks. Taking such a diverse background and so many pain and so many different stories and throwing them all together and saying, let's use the differences and create something meaningful. So the story I want to use this morning is the story of David. we have these conferences about David and how good David was, and we all know the story that he was a young boy and he got called up to a fight. And in this fight, his brothers were already in the fight. And so Goliath stands there and mocks their God, and he says, "Come and try me." And so David, we all know that story. David is he's actually a shepherd, and he's bringing food to his brothers, and they sort of laugh at him, and he hears Goliath calling, and he says, "Aren't you going to do anything about it?" They say, "No, that guy's he's quite scary. He's already killed a lot of our people." And so he says, "I'll go," but there's a very, very pivotal, very great verse in Samuel where he says that it is through God that I will go, and I'll face this man. And the king then tries to dress David, and it doesn't work. And then after he defeats Goliath, we read about David becoming an extraordinary fighter and a king. And these are just some of the verses. Like 1 Samuel 17 verse 50, it says, David defeat Goliath without a sword, using only a sling and a stone, showcasing his skills and courage. In 1 Samuel 18 verse 7, the people sing, Saul has struck down his thousands and David his 10,000s, reflecting his superior reputation as a warrior. 2 Samuel 5 verse 6 to 10, they say David captures the stronghold of Jerusalem from the Jebusites, demonstrating his strategic military leadership. There's two other verses I added. In 2 Samuel 22, he says, David's song of praise describes his strength in God and battle, crushing the enemies, enabling him to pursue and destroy them. In 1 Chronicles 18, we read the parallels, also emphasizing David's victories. We also read that in one battle, he got wounded so badly that they had to withdraw him. He was one of the fighters and a king fighter who used to be at the front lines and charge and attack people. So David's got this story about fighting and about being anointed by God. However, when David, in his imperfectness, he had a lot of conflict, and especially what was interesting about David is his family had a lot of conflict. Like if you read the story about David, his brothers, his sons, fought over the throne of his throne, and there was a time in David's life where he was supposed to become king, and there was a king named Saul, and he and this king just couldn't get along, and he and this king fought. And there's one story in Samuel where it says that Saul one time got so mad at David and he's busy playing the harp, and Saul picks up a spear and then he just throws it at David. So there's two texts that really got to me. And it says there's two chances where David had the two opportunities where David got the chance to kill Saul, to kill his enemy. So there were two chances where he could really went and kill Saul. So the one was actually in a cave. When Saul went to the bathroom, David was at the back of the cave, and he leopard crawl up to Saul, and then he took his dagger and he cut a piece of his robe. And then you read in the next one, you read that when he saw Saul, he showed the piece of clothing. He said, I could have killed you. And that happened on the second time as well. What is interesting about the story is he had the opportunity to be great by weaponizing his pain, by weaponizing his inequality, by weaponizing the fact that Saul is a bully and he could retaliate. Now this story is just one story of how the Bible evolves and tells us that what do we do with our stories? What do we do with our pain? What do we do with the things that happen to our lives? The most common thing is to weaponize it. The most common thing is to say that I'm divorced, so I judge everyone who divorces. The most common thing is I got bullied at school, so I become a bully in high school or after school. And we see it every single way. And then the most powerful verse in the Bible is the 2 Peter 3 verse where Jesus himself says that he had all the power in the world. And he who got threatened, he who was busy suffering, he who was hanging on a cross, naked. Now there's a big like understanding about him being naked on a cross. It's one thing to be killed, but it's another thing to be naked, to be so vulnerable and so exposed to the world. He chooses to be absolutely vulnerable. He chooses that his story transcends and changes the entire future. And there's a story also about, Nelson Mandela, who said that if he got out of prison and he would not set people free, he would have still been in prison. And this morning, I want to invite you and say, if I gave you this microphone and I said, come to the front and come and tell me about all the inequalities and tell me about all the pain and tell me about all the things that are bad in your life, you'll have 10 to 15 minutes. And when you're done with that, if I let you continue, what would the continuation of your story be? Will it stay there? I'm hurt, I'm painful, ek's kwaad vir die verlede, ek is kwaad vir my ouers, I'm mad at my parents, I'm mad at my grandparents, I'm mad at my siblings, I'm mad, we don't talk, we don't, anything. The story continues, the repetition of violence continues. He hurt me, I hurt him, he bullied me, I bullied him. It all continues. Then I want to say, what if we can look to other people? I don't know if Darren is a Christian, but I know the way he does life is really inspiring. I know Vusi is, he grew up Catholic. He's a committed Christian. I know David was a follower of Jesus. And I know not one of them were perfect. And I know neither is any one of us perfect, but I know our stories are broken. And how will it continue? How will we reconstruct our story? David says, I will not put out my hand against my Lord, for he is the anointed. The Lord forbid that I should put out my hand against the Lord's anointed. I read that in Samuel. I want to ask you, where are you in your life currently? Are you at the continuation of your story, saying that this is the past, where are you now? Where are you now in terms of your work, your relationship with God, your relationship with people? And if I give you the mic, and I'm going to give you the mic because you're going to walk out here, and then you're taking the mic, and then you're going to talk to the world. How is your story going to look? That's the importance of reconstruction. That's the importance of change. If we want to be people of God, if we really want to follow Jesus Christ, you need to put away your pain and your suffering. You need to heal yourself. You need to heal your marriage. You need to heal your relationships. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive others. Not because you have to, but because it sets you free. To heal someone or to forgive someone sets you free. If I forgive someone, it's not about someone else. It's about me not fighting in my head every single day a battle against someone who doesn't even know I'm fighting with them. It's setting myself free. And this is the invitation this morning. The invitation is, why don't you forgive? Why don't you change your story? Why don't you reconstruct?